You lie to yourself at times, now you're falling apart. Soon giving in this time, 'cause we're falling apart.
Hello there, coming to you live from the bunker. This is a live report for JW Watch, the show that keeps a close eye on all things JW, offering Jehovah's Witnesses a more objective viewpoint on current developments that the governing body almost certainly doesn't want them to hear. On Friday, an article appeared on jw.org confirming that certain congregations are being invited to participate in a pilot program that will see them return to their kingdom halls, albeit under a plethora of strict requirements. It's been said that in general, the arrangements for Zoom meetings, can't speak, will remain in place until January 1st at the latest. So we've quite a bit to talk about here, and it's just me on my lonesome today. I'm still a little bit recovering from illness, so you must bear with me. I do, however, want to show you the article itself. So just to prove that this is indeed jw.org, there we go. And you can see there the article is headed, "The governing body announces that some in-person meetings will resume in select areas." So what we have is we have this article and we have a leaked document showing the list of requirements that these congregations will be under. So it says the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses announced that they have invited selected branches to participate in a pilot program to resume some in-person congregation meetings. The branches participating will select kingdom halls in areas where vaccination rates are high and infection rates are low. Of course, all aspects of this project will be carried out in harmony with local government regulations for indoor gatherings. The announcement was read to Bethel families around the world on Friday, October 15th, 2021. The results of this pilot program will determine if additional congregations can be approved to resume in-person meetings. The announcement also stated that, in general, in-person organizational activities will remain suspended until at least January 1st, 2022. We greatly appreciate the governing body's care for the worldwide brotherhood and their measured approach to resuming organizational activities. It's always odd when the governing body praises itself. Let's be honest, this has basically been written by them or under their direction. They have directed for appreciation to be given to them. Please pray for Jehovah's continued guidance and blessing on these arrangements. Yeah, as though jw.org is some impartial in-betweener between Jehovah's Witnesses and the governing body. Always makes me laugh when they do that. So yeah, that's the actual article itself. And I am going to take some comments. Producer Bob is lurking. Producer Bob is also ill, far more ill than me, it must be said. And we'll be displaying comments. There we go. There's a super chat from John. Hope you're feeling better, Lloyd. Thank you very much, John. That's very kind of you. I had to jump on for this story. This is a big deal, isn't it? Because let's face it, you know, so many have been wondering whether this is an opportunity that will be seized upon to make sure that so that the organization can capitalize and basically sell off the kingdom halls. I think that's been on the back of people's minds. Will Jehovah's Witnesses ever return to the kingdom halls? I think has been, something that people have been wondering about, myself included. And now we have a concrete affirmation that there is at least some appetite for Jehovah's Witnesses to get back to their kingdom halls on the part of the governing body. They wouldn't be launching this pilot program if there was zero interest, and if they were already moving their chess pieces so that the kingdom halls could be sold off. But as we're going to see, what we're actually going to have, rather than it being one or the other, it's kind of going to be a halfway house. So when you actually look at the documents, it's, and I understand this will be a disappointment to many of you watching who are perhaps thinking, yay, we no longer have to be policed as to whether we're on Zoom or not. Hopefully it won't be as bad as that, but it's kind of a case of Kingdom Halls and Zoom. So it's Kingdom Halls Plus or Zoom Plus, if you want to think about it that way. It's both, essentially. And I think the best way to describe it is to show the document, which I will do as quickly as I can. This is the part that producer Bob isn't able to do for me, so it's entirely my fault that there is a little bit of a delay here. Okay, it was showing on, there we are. So it's this document here. You can see there it's headed Announcement October 15th, 2021. The text is nice and big, so I don't have to enlarge it. And this is actually, obviously, as you can see, for Hong Kong, for the Hong Kong region. I think it can be fairly safely assumed that the language will be very similar, if not identical, for other parts of the world. For selected congregation elders in Hong Kong, I'm not going to read the whole thing, I'm just going to skip through it. Pilot program to resume in-person meetings in selected locations. After much prayerful consideration, we are pleased to inform you that starting the week of November 1st, 2021, so beginning next month, selected congregations in Hong Kong are invited to participate in a pilot program to resume in-person meetings at Kingdom Halls. An announcement has been provided to you for you to read to the congregation on this matter. And the announcement for the congregation is at the bottom. There are two announcements, one for the elders and one for the congregation. The one for the elders, I have to say, is much longer. You have to wonder why the secrecy? Why not just give it to everybody? Anyway. As you can see there, the elders are basically being instructed as to how to reply. Before final approval is given to each congregation to participate in this pilot program, the body of elders should review this announcement together and email the service department before October 27th, 2021 to confirm that the Kingdom Hall Operating Committee has or will complete all preparation works before November 1st, 2021. Straight away, preparation works. We're seeing how laborious this is going to be. And the body of elders are ready to implement the arrangements for in-person meetings to resume. They're basically being told how they are to reply. Some accommodation is made for them to say, no, we can't do it in the next paragraph. But I would imagine that's only in very, very extreme circumstances. If your body of elders believes that some measures cannot be implemented in time for November 1st, please state this in your reply to the branch office. Considerations when arranging for meetings and inviting publishers. This is what I mean when I say it's not one or the other. For at least a period, it sounds like it's going to be sort of 50-50. Well, you can see here, each Kingdom Hall will be used at a maximum seating capacity of 50%. Please refer to the attached chart for a list of maximum seating for each property. So they've told each Kingdom Hall in this program what their capacity is, how many seats they have for the meetings. The body of elders should verify that only fully vaccinated publishers are invited to attend meetings at the Kingdom Hall. The term fully vaccinated means that the individual has received 2 doses of a COVID-19 vaccine and 2 weeks have passed since their second dose. Interested persons or Bible studies should not be invited to attend at the Kingdom Hall at this time. I'm going to scroll further down. Please respect the wishes of publishers who are fully vaccinated but prefer not to attend in-person meetings at the Kingdom Hall at this time. No one should feel pressured to attend the meetings in person if they feel uncomfortable doing so. So you see where this is going. You shouldn't feel pressured to attend in person, but it's still a requirement to attend somehow, meaning that there's a Zoom component to the meetings. Any who are not in attendance at the Kingdom Hall can tie in by Zoom. Those with meeting assignments who are not fully vaccinated or unable to be invited to the Kingdom Hall may conduct their parts by Zoom. That's going to be interesting, being at the Kingdom Hall, watching a talk being given by someone who's not there, who's giving it in their living room because they can't attend for whatever reason. Further instructions will be maybe because they haven't been vaccinated, because they don't want to be vaccinated. Further instructions will be provided to each congregation regarding the setup of Zoom with in-person meetings. Please do not purchase any additional equipment for this purpose. So there's going to be extra correspondence sent out to bodies of elders telling them how to gear up for essentially a whole new type of meeting that's both in person and over Zoom, both. And you have to wonder how long that's going to go on for, because even after the pandemic's over, imagine that glorious time. Feels like it's just going to go on forever, doesn't it? But if the pandemic were to end, you'd imagine there would be quite some temptation to keep the dual component of the meeting and say, right, well, why should we stop doing it over Zoom as well? And then what you have is a both worlds scenario where there is no. I'm not trying to depress people here. I'm trying to describe how this is looking to me. I can't see how they would ever ditch Zoom, because it's so useful for them, isn't it? I mean, if you're an organization in the business of controlling people and making sure they receive their dose of spiritual food, aka indoctrination, and you have a model that you've been through for over a year where people have been attending this way, and you can keep them doing that while having the in-person components at the Kingdom Halls, why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you do it that way? Congregations should only use their assigned Kingdom Hall. Please do not arrange to use any other property without first seeking approval from the branch office. Congregations should not use the Kingdom Hall to view the assembly program. The entire congregation should use Zoom to watch the program. So this is just for the ordinary Kingdom Hall meetings for the foreseeable future, it seems. Precautions when using the Kingdom Hall. I'm not going to read all of this. Suffice to say, it's going to be a whole different experience going to a Kingdom Hall meeting under these new regulations and dealing with the implementing it all. It's going to be a nightmare. I would hate to be an elder, either an elder or a ministerial servant, or anyone, frankly, who is capable of being roped into Kingdom Hall cleaning, because there's a whole lot of work being described here. All publishers, I'm going to skip down to, there's an interesting data thing here. In harmony with government regulations, this might be Hong Kong specific, by the way. This could be Hong Kong specific. The body of elders in each congregation must keep a written log of each meeting with the following information of each attendee: name, contact numbers, date and time of visit. This log should be kept in a secure location at the Kingdom Hall for 31 days. In the event of the need for contact tracing afterwards, it should be destroyed. Yeah, I'd be interested to know whether that's just... that sounds like a very Hong Kong specific thing. If they're expecting that to be done everywhere, come on, this is an organization with a horrendous track record when it comes to abuse of personal data. All publishers attending meetings at the Kingdom Hall must wear a face mask. Well, that's a given, I guess. The body of elders may choose to have a small supply of face masks at the Kingdom Hall for emergency use. Emergency! You can imagine the red alert flashing on. We've spotted someone without a mask, and slow motion, people like, put the mask on! In general, it is not that I'm against face masks, by the way, can I be very clear? In general, it is not the responsibility of the congregation to provide face masks to each attendee. Before entry into the Kingdom Hall, publishers should have their temperature checked and asked if they have any cold or flu-like symptoms. So I'm guessing it's not the old school kind of stick a thermometer in the mouth approach. I'm guessing it's the electronic gadget, which we've now got in the Evans household, I'm happy to say. Yeah, I'm guessing it's that. You're going to get tasered. Not tasered. Imagine that. That's probably for apostates at some point. There'll be future guidance on tasering apostates. But no, it will be the thermometer thingy, won't it? The electric thingamajig, to use its technical term. If they are feeling unwell, they should be asked to return home or seek medical attention and not enter the Kingdom Hall. Upon entering the Kingdom Hall, publishers should wash their hands with soap as opposed to for at least 20 seconds, or have their hands sanitized. No eating or drinking in the Kingdom Hall. The water dispensers will be out of action. They're going to be disinfecting microphone boom bars and microphones. Those with assignments have the option of taking their mask off to deliver their part from the platform. The option, so there might be some masked people on the platform. We don't know yet. However, masks must be worn to and from the stage. Once you're on the stage, you can take it off, apparently. But after each meeting, after each meeting, the Kingdom Hall should be thoroughly cleaned and disinfected for the next congregation. If possible, the windows should be opened between meetings to allow fresh air to circulate in the hall. Isn't coronavirus airborne? Anyway, so bear in mind, for those who don't know, Kingdom Halls are already, at least in the countries where I've attended Kingdom Hall meetings, are already quite fastidiously cleaned. I can remember it being a bit of a shock to the system when I moved to Croatia, and it was literally right after every meeting they were getting the mops and buckets out. Whereas in the UK, it was done on a group basis, on I think a weekly basis, like a weekly rota. Now, after each meeting, thoroughly cleaned and disinfected. You can guess who's going to bear the brunt of that, can't you? It's going to be the sisters. We don't want the sisters teaching. We don't want the sisters assuming any kind of congregational responsibility or voicing an opinion. Wouldn't mind them picking up a mop, though, and thoroughly cleaning and disinfecting our property, if that's okay. So, yes. Publishers should vacate the Kingdom Hall within 60 minutes of the conclusion of the meeting. There should be limited or no contact with the next congregation attending the meeting. So this is when they're doing a change around, which, let's face it, is the new reality anyway in most jurisdictions, not just Hong Kong, I would imagine, because so many congregations are sharing Kingdom Halls. Please ensure that funds from the contribution box at the Kingdom Hall are collected at the conclusion of each meeting. Isn't that what was already happening? It's almost like they put that in as if to say, we really need those funds. Please ensure proper hand hygiene is practiced. Yeah, when you're handling people's dirty, filthy money, use some hand sanitizer. At what point? Anyway, Field service meetings may be conducted at the Kingdom Hall immediately after a congregation meeting. So it's like an elongated meeting in a way then, isn't it? They used to do that, didn't they, on the Sunday, for the Sunday meeting sometimes they used to have a field service meeting afterwards. But now that they're not doing, because there's no direction here for returning to the door-to-door work, so it's odd that they're combining them now, because the field service meetings are like a proper thing now, aren't they? That they're doing over Zoom, and they're showing up with their ties on and everything. That sounds like that will be a monumental faff to attend a meeting, and not just for the meeting, but also for a field service meeting afterwards. Publishers should not use the Kingdom Hall for any forms of the field ministry. Yeah, there's more, obviously. Hopefully you can see that a lot has gone into this. And there's going to be more direction on the way as to how to equip a Kingdom Hall, technically speaking, for doing these new 50-50 Zoom in-person meetings. And here's the actual announcement for the congregation. We commend you for your faithfulness in following direction during this pandemic and maintaining a healthy spiritual routine. You have lovingly and patiently supported one another in adapting to new ways of meeting together. This has allowed both young and old to receive life-sustaining spiritual food. We are pleased to inform you at this time that after much prayerful consideration and careful thought, beginning the week of November 1st, 2021, selected congregations in Hong Kong are invited to participate in a pilot program to resume congregation meetings at Kingdom Halls. In fact, the branch office is already working closely with bodies of elders on safety protocols for meeting together and to ensure that the Kingdom Hall will be a safe environment in harmony with local regulations. In taking a measured approach to the use of Kingdom Halls, only 50% of the Kingdom Hall capacity will be used, with all in attendance wearing a face mask. In addition, only fully vaccinated publishers, which means those that have received 2 doses of the vaccine and 14 days have passed since their second dose, will be invited to share in the pilot program. Please note that this is an optional arrangement and no one should feel pressured to attend meetings at the Kingdom Hall if they feel uncomfortable doing so. As you can understand, not all will be able to attend the meeting at the Kingdom Hall. Therefore, arrangements will continue to be made by the elders for all others to attend the meeting using Zoom. The body of elders through each field service group overseer will provide each publisher a safety protocol document for attending meetings. Oh gosh. And maybe this is Hong Kong specific, I don't know. We need more of these documents leaked out. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, elders. Please prayerfully review this document. The elders will provide further details if your congregation will participate in this pilot program. This arrangement will only be successful with your cooperation and Jehovah's blessing. We ask that you please keep your local elders, the branch office, and this arrangement in your prayers as we work together. Please accept an expression of our warm Christian love and wishes. That old phrase at the end there, which we're all very familiar with. Okay, well, that's basically the document, viewers. Quite a bit to talk about. I'm sorry if I've been missing some of the comments. I've been kind of focused solely on the document there. Hello. Oh, sorry. I messed up there with producer Bob. Sorry. Hello, fellow whistleblowers. Thanks as always, Lloyd. Yes, it's the whistleblowers who are really responsible for helping us here, and I'll let producer Bob take over now with the comments, and then actually we'll take a few comments and I'll give you all a chance to arrange yourselves. We'll have a brief viewer invasion, a brief one. I must insist though that you all wear masks. No, I'm joking. Don't wear masks for the viewer invasion. Actually, the contrary is the case. We will need you to show your face, Hang on, let me bring up the banner. You need to show your camera, show your face. Please keep comments, questions respectful and on topic. The camera thing is purely to filter out any would-be trolls, basically. So while we wait for the viewer invasion to assail us, Vadim is saying, wait, is the organisation paying for those measures or are they on congregations? Well, they've said don't. They said something in the regulations about don't spend money on making excessive adjustments. We're going to give you don't spend money on special equipment or whatever. We're going to give you instructions. It seems that most of this is going to be, quite frankly, cleaning. A lot of this is going to be a case of, apart from just taping off seats and putting up signs and putting tape around the water dispenser, a lot of this is just going to be, quite frankly, hard cleaning work, which I think is probably mostly going to be done by sisters, because that's who's doing most of the cleaning anyway, isn't it? Cody Downs says, most of all the halls in my area have developed a mold problem. They have had to put dehumidifiers in nearly all of them. That's going to be good on the Kong lungs. Just a reminder for the viewer invasion, I was joking about face masks. It wasn't. So we actually need the opposite for the viewer invasion. So no masks for the viewer invasion. Any other comments to show? Life is back to normal in East London. Every other religious meeting place have been reopened for months now, but not the JWs, still saving on the expenditures. That was A1 there. And David says, how do they manage weddings and funerals? I think this is just purely for Kingdom Hall meetings and meetings for field service. I would imagine that they're not going to allow weddings and funerals at the Kingdom Halls. I think it's at the pilot program, at least, as far as I read it, is just for ordinary Kingdom Hall meetings. Ronnie Cortex says, hi Lloyd, great job, Ronnie from Brazil. Thank you very much, Ronnie. I might add, in addition to what I was saying earlier, that Mark and I have been talking about this, Mark O'Donnell, and he was mentioning, based on what he's been seeing happening on JW Talk and elsewhere, JW Talk is like a pro JW online forum. We know what David Splain thinks of forums. Apparently, rather than this just being Hong Kong specific, when it says selected congregations, it really does mean selected congregations anywhere in the world where there is, it sounds like, high vaccine uptake and low infections. And so far, what we're seeing is comments coming in from Australia, Western Australia, and someone else mentioned Portugal. So Western Australia, Portugal, and Hong Kong, for a certainty, have congregations that are being involved in this program. So it's a global thing. To what extent it's being rolled out in America or the UK, no idea. But just to emphasize, it's not just Hong Kong. It's globally happening, although not in every congregation. And in general, the policy is that that there are no in-person meetings. So I don't know whether we can do a viewer invasion because there's no one here who is not wearing a mask. So, okay, we can. So welcome, Gabriel. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well indeed, thanks. Yeah. So, what did you think of this whole pilot program situation?
Mixed feelings, as always.
Mixed feelings in what way?
Because it's so confusing. Because they say one thing and then they change it to another thing. So they manipulate our minds with their words.
Yeah, I'm not picking up too many mixed messages. It seems fairly straightforward. It's just I think many people. I mean, I've already seen some are quite anxious about having to go back to normal. Some actual believing Jehovah's Witnesses who ordinarily would struggle to attend in-person meetings are feeling like this has rejuvenated them for whatever, rightly or wrongly. And now they're fearful that they're going to be somehow marginalized again. I think that's how some Jehovah's Witnesses are responding to this already. And I can imagine a few on the XJW side initially hearing, okay, some Kingdom halls are opening again, thinking, fantastic, we no longer have this very invasive Zoom meeting situation. But then when you read the instructions, it's looking like, no, this is like a 50-50 thing. So if you can't make it in person, you're still supposed to attend over Zoom.
Yeah, I understand how you think, but still, they are. I mean, the Watchtower, like the past. They have been talking about the generation that will never pass away, and then they changed it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, thank you, Gabrielle. I really appreciate you calling into the Viewer Invasion. Please do so again in the future.
Thanks.
Take care. That was Gabrielle. What are your thoughts? There is a link in the chat if you'd like to share your feedback on what we've just been discussing. I'm not planning on streaming for too much longer, but I am willing to hear from viewers on how this is potentially going to affect them. We have one joining us now. The faithful and discreet something or other. I can't see the full name, but welcome.
It's Dave. Dave, faithful and discreet.
Hi, Dave.
How are you?
Not bad. You?
It's so dark here. I'm in my van. It looks like I'm in a Queen video.
You do actually look quite sinister, if I'm going to be completely honest. But there's the disarming smile, so that's something. Yeah.
No, I thought it was it's very interesting. I saw the letter a couple of days ago, and I've been waiting for your video since to see your take on it. But yeah, strange. Yeah, my son is still going to meetings, and currently I've been banned from Zoom meetings as of 2 days ago. So it's going to be very interesting to see if they get children back, specifically in my case.
When you say you've been banned from Zoom meetings, what does a Zoom ban look like?
There's a whole video to fill in here, but basically, I get invites to the meetings still. I asked for a link to the assembly. They had a circuit assembly the other day. They denied that and then said, actually, we're pulling your invites to all the meetings. I think they found out I wasn't just a specialist, I was an apostate.
Ah, okay.
So at that point, yeah. So, but my son still goes, so it'd be interesting to see when they. So I think it said children can't go yet. I think I read that. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Apart from anything, children are further down the pecking order for vaccines because for well-known reasons. But yeah, it's definitely a fascinating development for any who were wondering whether they would ever return to the Kingdom halls. It certainly looks like there's at least an appetite for it.
I know, yeah, and it makes you wonder just how many people who have faded in this time will go back. It'd be great to see the numbers.
It will.
When they go back, see how many are on Zoom still and how many are actually attending in person.
I really hope it's not like a 50-50. I mean, everything I'm reading points to a true 50-50. But to me, I don't know. I just dread the idea of them keeping the best of both worlds situation where they can have the in-person meetings and the control of Zoom so that everyone who is on their books is accounted for somehow or other. That's what I'm looking at the moment.
Yeah, well, time will tell. Watch this space.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, take care.
Take care. See you. And we have Ivan. How are you, Ivan?
Hey, Lloyd. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm not too well, a little bit under the weather, but I'm
Yeah,
improving. Thank you for asking.
great.
So, what did you think of that this development?
Well, you know what, Lloyd, the way I see it is, you know, I understand the whole 50-50 message, but where is the trust in Jehovah when you see that everywhere else, all the churches are opening? You can go to sporting venues, you can go anywhere, literally now. And so you would think that if this was God's true channel, true organization, why not just, hey, let's go back to the way we were and we're going to trust in Jehovah to protect us? After all, we are his true only organization. Why have these restrictions on, well, if you want to stay home, it's okay. If you, I would think that Jehovah would want things back the way things were before and show everyone, you know what, this is, we don't have we understand the government mandates, but you know what, we're going to, after all, this is Satan's government anyway, right? We're going to follow Jehovah's government and we're going to keep going the way we were. We're going back to field service. And I don't see that still. So to me, I see the hesitancy there. You know, again, just shows how man-made this is. Where's the spiritual direction in this? That's how I see it. I don't see it there.
Yeah, I take your point. I mean, like I'm watching the football has properly resumed now. I say football, soccer for Americans.
Yes.
I'm a keen soccer fan, and I'm watching the games, and you know I'm looking at jam-packed stadiums in the UK. So it's quite obvious that at least in certain countries things are more or less back to normal, and it's still extremely tentative. They're still really trying to hold back. I can only guess, as I've said before, that the reason why they are taking this approach when it comes to COVID is that this is something that directly threatens the governing body themselves. That, you know, they are taking this so seriously because they are the demographic. You know, old, check. Pre-existing conditions, almost certainly with all of them, check. So they're in the crosshairs of this pandemic, and they're trying to, I think, more than anything, protect themselves. That's how I look at this.
It's funny that you say that, though, because I mean, I think you're probably right, but they don't have those same considerations when someone needs blood, or when you have things like that. But you know, when it's something
Yeah.
that directly affects the governing body, well, let's take a step back and see how this affects us. But that sure doesn't go, you know, the same way when people need blood donations or, you know, blood transfusions. It's funny how, well, you know, then you follow the rule of the governing body, basically do as we say, not as we do.
Absolutely. Very true. Well, thank you so much, Ivan. Lovely to have you on, and please call in again.
Feel better.
Cheers. That was Ivan. And now we have, is it Sephora?
Yes, it is.
Thank you for joining us, Sephora. What did you think of this development?
Well, actually, I knew about it already because my brother's at Bethel and he shared that information already, like I think a week ago. So.
Oh, right. So you get an inside scoop on
Yes,
things.
yes. I mean, it's not always good as a chemo to have, you know, family in Bethel, but at least I get the information in advance. But I know that from my family, they've all been actually grateful that governing body has done that, has taken it seriously and not have resumed meetings in person. But at the same time, they've all been organizing viewing parties for the convention, for the broadcasting. So they're kind of mixed feelings about it. They really want to have this sense of community restored, but they want to be careful about it. But all in all, I think even though the governing body wants to be really careful about it because it impacts them directly, I also think that they obviously need to have Jehovah's Witnesses back in person because the whole point of the indoctrination is to have this sense of community, to have the love bombing. I mean, I clearly remember being at meetings, not listening to a thing, but just enjoying the company of everyone else. So, I mean, Zoom meetings have led to an influx of just Jehovah's Witnesses leaving, not paying attention. It's not been good for them. So, obviously, I think they also want to regain control over everyone else.
Yeah. The status quo works, but they prefer the original status quo unquestionably. I mean, we haven't yet seen the figures for the 2020 service year. Sorry, the 2021 service year, but the 2020 figures obviously were diabolical. First, reduction in publishers in 42 years. We've got to say, COVID will have played a huge role in that. This is not an organization geared for something like this pandemic, and I feel as though it's already sustained irreparable damage, and they will be wanting to get back to normal, quote unquote normal, as soon as they possibly can, albeit I do feel as though the leadership are very mindful of the fact that this particular pathogen again has them in its crosshairs, and so I feel like they're trying to shield themselves as much as possible, and probably to some degree they would argue they're looking after their flock, but again, it seems a bit extreme. There's a little bit overcautious, shall we say?
Yeah, but there's a bit of a double speak as well, because as we've seen in Bethel, especially in the head office in the US, they've resumed a lot of the in-person events, and I know in my country that's the same thing in Bethel. So it's like one rule for everyone who's at Bethel and another one for everyone else in the congregations. If it's safe for them because everyone's vaccinated, then surely all the countries that have a high rate of vaccination should be fine as well, especially if government has allowed gathering for other reasons. So, I mean, where I live, I don't live in my home country, but where I live, government has allowed events with thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, but still nothing has resumed in person for the congregation. So it's a bit of two different rules for everyone else.
I'm flying to the US next month for the Faithless Forum, and I'm fully expecting to be in a situation where I have to spend 12, 13 hours crossing the Atlantic on a crowded tube of aluminium with hundreds of other people, and that's the reality now. If you're vaccinated, the situation is in most countries, let's get back to normal. But yeah, it's a very interesting stance they've taken, and I really appreciate your input. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. That was Sephora. By the way, Sephora, please do join us again for a future viewer invasion if you can. Now we welcome Cody. How are you, Cody?
Hi, Lloyd. Good. How are you?
Very well indeed. Well, a little bit below the weather, but otherwise okay.
Well, glad to see you above ground anyway. It's nice to see some things never change. The very childish instructions on how to wash your hands and, how to conduct yourself like a civilized human being on a daily basis. It's really a shame how they just treat everyone like children constantly. And, not that we don't need reminders from time to time, but it's like, come on. Also, it seems like a lot of work for not much reward. I mean, I love how they're talking like their auditoriums are going to be bursting at the seams too whenever they start all this back up. Like, make sure you're staying under capacity. Not that I've ever been to Hong Kong, but if it's anything like the United States, there'll be more than enough circumstance for social distancing,
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating experience venturing back to the Kingdom Halls. If it's anything like as described in that document, imagine walking through the door and immediately having that thing pointed at you and asked a bunch of questions about your state of health. So, yeah, and watching talks being given by speakers on Zoom, that's going to be an interesting experience as well.
Yeah, it just seems like it would be a nightmare to me. And now that so many witnesses are conditioned to, the Zoom world, how many of them have gotten comfortable with that, and maybe perhaps don't want to go back to the way things were, or are gonna, take advantage of the don't pressure people into coming back to the meetings. And again, just a theory, but like you said earlier, if it's been supposedly going well for so long, why are they going to go back to that way?
Yeah, if they've stumbled on something that works for them, and helps them, if anything, tighten their control, I can't see them ditching it anytime soon. It could be that Zoom is here to stay now. It's like a permanent feature. So
I would have to agree with that.
Okay, Cody, thanks so much for joining us, and please join us again for a future Viewer Invasion.
You got it. Thank you.
Take care. That was Cody, and we're down to our final 2 callers, and then I'm going to go and drink lots of paracetamol and maybe have a hot black currant. Welcome to Evelyn. How are you, Evelyn? Your audio is not quite coming through. That's okay. While Evelyn sorts out her audio, I should just mention Evelyn is also a patron, so we do know each other. It could be you. I think it's, yeah, your audio is not quite connecting. If you check on the settings. What we'll do, Evelyn, is we'll just take the next caller, and hopefully by the time we come round, you'll have it sorted. Okay. And we're welcoming Green Thumb. Is that the name?
Oh, hello. Hi.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm good. Glad to speak with you finally. Well, I guess I had 2 points. One, I just was really hoping that doing the Zoom meetings would kind of like start them selling Kingdom Halls. Like I wanted them to just, get rid of some of the real estate they have. I mean, if they're doing everything online, then they won't need the buildings. They can sell for a little bit more cash, loosens their grip a little bit. But it looks like they're not doing that yet. So I guess we got to wait.
Yeah, it's the golden carrot dangling in front of them, and I too would like to see them go down that route, because once they've gone down that road, they can't U-turn and retrace their steps. You can't unsell, hundreds or thousands of Kingdom Halls. Once you've sold them, and you are immediately a smaller organization. So I'm kind of like you, chomping at the bit for them to make that mistake. But it sounds like, as tempting as it is for them to grab the cash, they'd rather have the control, at least for the time being.
Yeah. And I guess I'm not surprised by that anyways. I guess whenever it is going to happen, it'll probably be like they really need the money. And they're not really there yet. So I guess it just kind of tells you where they are. And then the second thing is, since people are going back into the halls, I just wonder about like potential for outbreaks. Like if one congregation is affected a lot by maybe having older members and being very what do you call it, like susceptible to high COVID rates, I suppose. Maybe some immunocompromised people in the congregation that could become sick, and because of meeting in person, I kind of wonder about that, because not everybody's going to be vaccinated.
Yeah, well, they're very clear in saying they only want vaccinated people to go back. So, yeah, and I would imagine for those who are vaccinated but still susceptible, and I guess I'm describing my in-laws, to be quite honest with you, they are, again, perfect demographic to succumb to COVID. So far they haven't, fortunately. But in the announcements, it specifically says no one should feel under pressure to attend in person. So at least from their point of view and the point of view of any who are in a similar situation, it's encouraging to know that people won't be made to feel pressured to attend in person.
Yeah, I wonder, like, in practice, if it's gonna be like that, but you have to, wait and see, I guess.
Absolutely. It will be interesting to revisit this development further down the line. It sounds like the overarching, cancellation of in-person worship is extended at least until the 1st of January. So whatever happens, we're in for weeks of more or less the same, albeit with 1 or 2 exceptions. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out. But I really appreciate your comments, and might I add, you unnerved me a little bit with your name, Green Thumb, because that was the name of one of my old employers. I used to work for a lawn
Oh, no
treatment
way.
company. I used to work for a lawn treatment company that was owned by Jehovah's Witnesses called Green Thumb, and there was all sorts of dodgy stuff going on there. But,
Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
yeah.
All right,
I
thank
thought,
you.
okay, take care. Yeah, I thought I was being trolled there, but I took a risk, and the risk was rewarded with a very fine conversation there. And we welcome back Evelyn.
Is the audio a lot better now?
The audio is better, but I can hear my voice.
Oh, sorry. 1 sec. And is it better now?
That's much better. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Still getting used to this StreamYard thing. Where I live in Australia at the moment, we're still under not lockdown, but under a lot of restrictions. And for the brothers and sisters in the congregation to meet, to comply with the law here, they would have to be double vaccinated and at least 2 weeks since their last vaccination. And what that could, like, I'm just wondering how that factors into with a lot of them being hesitant to get the vaccine, whether or not it's going to take 3 or 4 months before we actually see full meeting figures before they start going back properly. And
Yeah,
I know that's just from a local perspective of where I am, but I can imagine it could be around the world as well. So if there isn't a huge number of people there, that won't be surprising in the beginning.
yeah, it will be interesting to see what appetite there is for those who are quote unquote eligible because they've been vaccinated. What appetite there is for the in-person meetings. Frankly, you can imagine a lot of people wanting to avoid them just because they don't want to have to be involved in this kind of, industrial scale cleaning and disinfecting thing that must be needed at the end of every meeting. It's like, I think I'll just tune in on Zoom instead, actually, if that's okay with you.
I have heard through my contacts that in my local area they have been maintaining their hall with cleaning and like inside and that. So I don't know whether it's going to be too much of an issue there. I was going to say something else, but I forgot.
That's okay.
Yeah, but basically, yeah, that's the main point I thought I'd bring up is we shouldn't see their initial figures as being concrete just yet. Perhaps give it 3 to 6 months before we'll see the full impact of COVID.
Well, it's a pilot program, so
Yeah.
this is not them going back to normal. This is them making a concrete move in that direction, and it will be very. It's if nothing else, I see it as the governing body showing their cards. This is what they want, so it's kind of in a way put to bed this kind of conversation that many have been having of maybe they're never going back to the Kingdom Halls. And now we know that that's unlikely to be the case because there is this appetite for them to, in some areas, start doing that. So, yeah, it'll be very, very interesting, like you say, to look at this further down the line and see where we are.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Thanks, Evelyn. And thank you for your support as a patron as well. Okay.
No worries.
Take care. Take care. It was Evelyn. So, yes, quite a few fascinating comments there. I noticed 624 watching. So, obviously, this is a subject that resonates with many of you, as it does with me, because I live in the same building as Jehovah's Witnesses. And I know, or I can imagine, how this is going to affect them. Yeah, it feels like this is a move towards a 50-50 model. It feels like Zoom is here to stay. Depressing though that may be for many of you, I can't see them ever shifting from this new toy that they have, given how much control it's giving them. So I can see in future almost like a register being kept of who's attending in person and who's attending via Zoom, and anyone who's not attending, questions being asked. But that's my speculation. We'll have to wait and see what transpires. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to share with you. I hope you found this information helpful. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm sure many of you will be watching this after the fact. Let me know what you think and how this could conceivably impact you. But that's all I really have time for. I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. Don't forget that you can enjoy more such videos and live streams by subscribing to the Lloyd Evans channel. And as always, thank you for watching. Take care, everyone.